Cool. At this point, we have the 3 new raw URLs set up. So now we can just add the client-side JavaScript. Now, again, we're not going to write the JavaScript line by line. So just go into the HTML templates folder that we've been borrowing code from. In that folder, you'll see that there's a file named spa-profile.js. As you might have guessed, I just want you to select every single line in that file and copy it into your clipboard. Let's go add it into our Laravel code together. So in resources, in the JS folder, I'm going to create a new file on the JS folder. I'll just name it profile.js. We paste in the contents, save that brand new file, and now just go into app.js. Up at the very top, let's import it. So import profile from quotes / profile. And then I would just duplicate these 3 if lines. On the new duplicate copy, the query selector check would be dot. Let's check to see if there's an element with a class of .profile-nav. If so, then just instantiate a new instance of our profile class. Cool. Let's give this a save. And now with this saved, let's open up our command line. And we need to spin up npm run dev to bundle up our newest JavaScript. Cool. So with that running, if we go back here and refresh, let me click on to posts, click through the different links. Now, if your computer is really fast, it might be hard to even tell the difference, but let me show you how you can know for sure if your single page application functionality is working. So you can inspect and go into your developer tools. And then in this top tab, click network. And then for the category, I would just click this fetch/xhr. With that selected now, if you just move that off to the side and then click a few more links, let me bring that back into this focus. Cool, so you can see it's just performing requests to the URL that ends in /raw. And each request is just a couple of kilobytes, and it's just that exact JSON data that we actually need. This is beautiful, and we can actually take things one step further and make things even faster. So you could imagine that someone might visit a profile and rapidly click between these 3 different links. However, we don't actually need to fetch fresh data, and it's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but why don't we cache the response for one of these raw URLs for like 20 seconds? You could cache it for less, you could cache it for more, but the idea is that if someone clicks the same link within the span of 20 seconds, we probably don't need to have the server actually generate a new response. The browser can just hold on to the previous response so that it's not even using any data whatsoever. It's just a local request. So that can be truly lightning quick and it won't waste any bandwidth. Let me show you how I would set that up, and then I'll show you how to use your Google Chrome developer tools to make sure that it's truly working. So back in VS Code, we just want to go into our routes file, so web.php. And let me first show you how to set it up just for one individual. So for example, the username /raw URL route. And then once we set that up, I'll show you how you can efficiently add this feature to a group of routes. Let's start with just this first one though, for just your list of blog posts /raw. So at the end, before the semicolon, we would just call middleware. And now for the name of the middleware, this is really cool. We can just say quotes and then cache.headers : public semicolon max_age equals, let's set it to 20 seconds, semicolon etag. Let's go ahead and hit save. And now let me show you how you can test this out. Back in the browser, if you refresh, and then make sure you have your developer tools open to the network tab. But now if you quickly switch between blog posts and followers, and then go back to your developer tools, awesome. You can see that it'll alternate because we didn't cache followers, but we did cache the blog posts URL. You can see that for some of them under size, the size is effectively 0 because it says, disk, it's from the cache on your hard drive. And beautiful, the time is literally 0 milliseconds. So your browser's not even going out to the internet to fetch that raw URL. For 20 seconds, your browser's just going to hold on to it, which means this can be lightning fast now if someone's just sort of spam clicking through these back and forth. Now, I showed you how to add that feature to just one route. Let me show you how you could group all 3 of these and add it to all of them. I don't want to have to type this value out again, so I'm actually going to copy that quote value into my clipboard so we can get it back in just a moment. But let me get rid of this middleware call. And instead, here's what you can do. Above those 3 routes, let's say on a new line, route : middleware, and then after that, call group. Now, in the parentheses for group, give it an anonymous function, so function, parentheses, curly brackets. And now before we lose what's in our clipboard, in these middleware parentheses, be sure to just paste in your clipboard with the cache value. Cool, but inside the body of this function, you can just move the 3 routes that you would want to be, in that group. So I'm just going to cut those 3 routes, just paste them into the body of our function here. Let me fix the indentation. Cool. So now all 3 routes are going to get this caching middleware feature. So if we save that, whoops, I forgot the semicolon at the end of that. But now, if I start visiting these 3 different routes using the client-side JavaScript, and then you go look at your developer tools, beautiful, you can see they are all coming from disk cache, and their time is literally 0 milliseconds. Well, depending on if your computer's storage is fast enough. If it's an older, slower computer, it might be, a couple milliseconds. But the point is, the browser's not even going out onto the internet. Cool. So this was just a quick example. Ultimately, this didn't have a lot to do with Laravel, but this is an example of how I would set up single-page application features for just maybe a small portion of your website. Obviously, if your entire website was a single-page application, you would use something like React Router. But for super simple instances, you could set something up like we just did in this lesson. For extra credit, if you're curious how I wrote the client-side JavaScript to power, the user's back button and forward button and all of that, that's great. You can go look at the source code for our profile.js file. Anyways, it's going to bring this lesson to a close. In our next lesson, we're going to learn how to send email through our Laravel application. Let's keep things rolling, and I'll see you then.